Family. I'm Yosef from LOJ Fit Club, holistic trainer, where our motto is meditation, movement, and main goals. Meditation, mindful thinking for manifestation. Movement, activating our bodies in a functional, holistic way where we're able to use our internal strength to produce external strength. And main goals, implementing a proper vegan diet for holistic health. And so today we got a beautiful topic, and I want y'all to bear with me. We're going to go through it pretty quickly, but I want you to really understand the importance of this subject matter. And we're going to be talking about the importance of culture and health. The reason why we want to have this conversation today is because there has been a disconnect from what we think and what we do. And more importantly, what we should be doing to produce the best possible outcome. Culture, it is not just something that's been passed down to us or something that we may do here and there. Culture is a mentality that is expressed in a communal environment. Culture is in essence our ultimate protection. It gives us life and sustains life. And so when we look at culture, our culture has to be tied into our health. That means what we think, what we do, who we surround ourselves with, and most importantly, what we seek to have as an outcome. So we want to talk about today the first step, which is mental health. Mental health. And listen, I want you to see mental health, and as you know, health, you take that TH out, you got to heal. To have proper health, we're going to have to heal, and that's why we want to talk about mental health, because mental health in our communities is taboo. Very few people, especially our black men, don't want to talk about mental health because it looks as if we are weak and we are unable and unsure of ourselves to produce the desired outcomes. So, first step, our perception of mental health is as I just stated. Hey, a lot of us ignore the component of mental health. We don't understand the abuse that we've been to. We don't understand the traumas that we've experienced, and especially being the children that have come out of the last 400 years here in America. And in the diaspora, going through the most horrific experience possible, which is the transatlantic slave trade and then subsequent white supremacy. We have to really emphasize mental health, because once we change our mind, then we're able to change our circumstance and reality. So we got to understand, if we don't prioritize mental health, it don't matter what we do as far as eating, how we exercise, what we wear, and what type of job we have to produce the money. Because if our minds are not right, our lives are not going to be right. So we want to talk about the current state of mental health. And that's even more important, because once we understand the perception and we start to change that perception, now we can start to change our current state. Right now, suicide is skyrocketing. We understand domestic abuse is skyrocketing, which is a byproduct of poor mental health. When we see and we look in different cities, urban cities, Detroit, Los Angeles, New York, Miami, Chicago, Atlanta, we can go on and on and on. What they always try to say, especially with our people, black on black violence. Now, a lot of those numbers are inflated for their own reasons, but still, a lot of it is true. But for you to kill your brother, that means you're ultimately killing yourself. That means you yourself lack a certain level of self-value and self-awareness that shows that you have poor mental health. So when we're talking about mental health, we're not just talking about as individuals, we're talking about healing our community. So what do we need as our solution? Therapy, brothers and sisters. We need therapy. Therapy is something that we're going to have to reacclimate ourselves with. If we don't, and we are unable to sit down in a peaceful, warm, inviting environment where we can now go through our traumas, decompartmentalize them, and then heal them with proper understanding, we're going to forever hold on to them, and then they're just going to re-manifest themselves in not just our lives, but the lives of our children. We have to, brothers and sisters, get out of the thinking that therapy are for crazy people or for weak-minded people. We all have been fractured. Hey, if you break your arm, you go to a doctor. You're not looked at weak, or you're not looked as not manly or anything of that nature to go to a doctor to get a cast for a broken arm. You chip your tooth, you go to the dentist, and I can give more and more examples. But what happens when we fracture our brains, when we fracture our minds and our thinking? What happens when we hurt the very component which gives us direction and discernment, which is our mind? We have to have those who are able appropriately strategically to heal those things as well. So if we can fix our clothes when they get torn, you know what I'm saying? We can do all these different things, clean our shoes when somebody step on them. Why won't we still put that same emphasis on our mind? But I understand too, especially as melanated people, we're not too willing to go into institutions that have caused the trauma as a means to heal us. So the other part of that, we have to create our own therapists that understand our plight, who understand our trials and tribulations, who understand our traumas, and who will actively help seek heal them so that then we can be a whole people again. So whether it's your spiritual institutions, whether it be the Kingdom of Yah, the Hebrew Israelite nation, whether it be the Nation of Islam, whatever it be, you are and you should be able to find refuge. But even if it's not in those institutions and somebody else may have them, we can't be afraid to seek our brothers and sisters who have these type of expertise that can help with our healing. So that's what mental health is in this particular portion, and we can go further and further. But to have a strong culture and to be a healthy people, we must reprioritize mental health. And so we got to understand our perception of mental health. We got to understand the current state in which we find ourselves with our mental health, but then we also must come with solutions. And right now, the most pressing issue that we must create more therapists. Now, I want to go to the next part of culture and health. Exercise. Exercise. We've learned that a lot of and majority of our health ailments are a product of lack of diet and lack of exercise. We always say that, well, I got diabetes, I have high blood pressure, you know, I have these different things because they're hereditary. They were passed down to me. What was passed down to you was a behavior and a lifestyle that is conducive to those ailments and those sicknesses and diseases. So what we want to understand is, what are the examples in our family of exercise? Who do we actually see working out and prioritizing exercise? And I'm not talking about that one cousin you got who decided he wanted to be a bodybuilder, and then all he does is lift weights and drink protein shakes, and then next thing you know, he feels he's not active enough, so then he starts to take exogenous hormones and starts to take drugs and steroids. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about holistic exercise, and this is what LOJ is so important, because we emphasize first body control and using your body weight to manipulate different positions, and so that now you can build a strong skeletal and muscular system without the abuse of going crazy in the gym or using external means to try to induce muscle growth. But what examples do we have? Who are our examples? So we don't find them in the household, we got to find them outside of the household. So that means that we, going back to that mental health part too, our perception, one, exercise is important. Two, we have and we must make the time for exercise like we do everything else. And then we have to put ourselves in environments where other people are practicing holistic means of exercise. So when you say where and how do we start? Simple. If you don't know what to do yourself, yeah, you can look on YouTube, sure. Yeah, you can read some articles, sure. But the best thing to do is to find a trainer or a local gym who embodies the type of lifestyle that you seek to live. And we're saying the best one is more of a holistic approach. Not just somebody's going to tell you what machines to use and how to lift up some dumbbells. You don't need no help doing that. You need people to show you the importance of calisthenics, the importance of aerobic exercises and how to affect it, when to do it, how to do it, you know, and what increments, and how to marry it with your diet as well as your mental health. So if you're in the Atlanta area, LOJ is perfect. And even if you're not in Atlanta area, LOJ is still perfect because we have online options that are available to you as well. We're going to finish up now with one that's really killing us and we don't even understand, and that's food. Our relationship with fast food based on a fast lifestyle leads to a fast death. What do we see on every corner outside of liquor stores and gas stations? It's Chick-fil-A, it's Wendy's, it's Burger King, it's KFC, it's McDonald's. We can go on and on and on. It was an article I just read that it was a McDonald's French fry from 1977 that still looked as if it was freshly made. Now, what type of food has that type of ability to preserve itself that it looks exactly the same as it did 50 years later as it did when it first came out the fryer? What are we eating, brothers and sisters, in the name of convenience? What are we putting into our bodies in the means of not having the time to have a cooked meal? And I'm not saying restaurants are bad, because there are a lot of healthy restaurants that we should be patronizing and going to. But when we go to those fast food places, thinking that, oh, well, I don't have the money to go to those restaurants, I don't have the money to eat healthy. The cheapest thing to buy, especially in this day and time, is not steaks, it's not lobsters, it's not milk. Those things are going up. It's beans, it's legumes, it's vegetables. So what we're saying is that when you consume these fast foods with the fast thinking and mentality of the lifestyle that you never had the time, it's going to lead to a fast death. And so even if you're prioritizing your therapy, even if you're going through and healing your traumas, and you're starting to exercise, and you're starting to work out more and walk, if you're still eating the foods that are counterintuitive and counterproductive to your healing and the promotion of your culture, which is your health, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And it totally negates those previous two. So we also want to emphasize, this is a key point. We're eating too much meat and dairy. Now, again, at LOJ, main goals for us is representation of the plant-based diet. We're vegans, but we understand that everybody can't make that transition initially. That's fine. But the overconsumption of meat and dairy has too many devastating effects. For one, to process and digest meat can take up to 3 days depending on what meat you ate and how much you ate of it. Now, very few of us eat meat and then go on a 3-day fast. So not only are you compiling more food that's being backed up in our internal sewer systems, which is our intestines, you're also burning so much energy trying to digest that food that you're killing yourself. Because the hardest task that the body must perform is digestion of food. So we saying, okay, if you can't go cold turkey and go straight to a vegan diet, vegetarian, that's fine. But eat less meat than you were before. And another thing is dairy. Cow's milk is not intended for human beings. They have a certain hormonal instruction that are given to the cows that doesn't relate to the human. When you see our children at the age of 9 with big breasts and boo and oversized, it's because they're eating a diet, i.e. having the instructions of the dairy that are meant for the cow, who's intended to be upwards to 800 pounds for a person that's not supposed to go past 130. So when we look at it from a scientific standpoint, it don't make sense. When we look at it from a spiritual standpoint, it doesn't make sense. And that's why we say from a cultural standpoint, we can't practice a culture that's not intended or does not behoove us as a people. And the first thing that we can improve our culture is with our diet. So we're saying we're eating too much meat and we're eating too much dairy. So where and how do we start? And I'm going to finish with this. If we're eating too much dairy and we're eating too much meat, and you're not ready to go cold turkey, which is understandable, you still on the fence about hiring us at LOJ to compose the proper diet for you, so we understand. Where can you start? Just go meatless on Mondays. Something simple as cutting out fast food, reducing your fried food intake. These type of things can have, even though they seem minuscule, can have dramatic effects on your health. Why? Because if you do that for a year, without even doing anything else, you'll see your weight decrease, you'll see your health increase as far as vitality, energy, the clearing of your complexion, and your overall sense of wellness. These are things that we teach at LOJ Fit Club. These are things that we as a people must be reacclimated to. And so we're saying that it's not one thing to just work out anymore, say we're eating good, or try to meditate. No, we want to bring it all together and create a culture where now it can be replicated and passed on to our children. So this is how we heal ourselves, not just in this generation, but in perpetuity. If you want to have more information about what we're doing at LOJ, you can definitely hit us up on our Instagram page, as well as our Facebook page. And me or myself or my brother Tori will hit you soon as possible, and we can inform you more about this. It's been my pleasure. It's been my blessings. Until next time, LOJ Foot Club, checking out.